Welcome into tonight's Mussone and Peacock podcast, live here from Bogies in Venice, best place to come watch a game and all of your sports. Josh Grant here, sitting in for John Mussone and the man who needs no introduction, Coach John Peacock. And we just filmed the coaches show we talked a lot about last Friday night, but now we're moving on to to Saturday, December 17th. So what you briefly mentioned it at the end of the coaches show. What do the next 2 weeks look like for your team? What does this week look like as far as structure and how you're going to get these guys ready? And then next week you guys amp it back up. What does the schedule kind of look like in the routine?
Well, you know, we're kind of creatures of nature, and our kids have been really used to. We've been in a great routine. I feel like we've been playing good football. So our normal routine is we're going to practice 4 days and play a game. Off 2 days,
right.
Practice 4 days, play a game. Off 2 days. So now we have 2 weeks. So we're going to use this time for one to make sure mentally we know what we're doing on offense. Mentally we know where to line up and what they're doing on offense as a defense. But then at the same time, I don't want to wear them out. I want to use the time to get their bodies fresh, their legs fresh. So we're going to give them 2 days off this week, and then next week I plan on giving them 1 day off next week, kind of in the middle, because not only are we working on our second week of preparation for one team, but we also have an additional day of preparation because we're going to be playing on Saturday.
So when do you kind of get your plans finalized as to, obviously you script your first set amount of plays, and when do you kind of get those plans into place?
We got them in place last Saturday. And to be honest, we have been working on Lakeland for 2 to 3 weeks right now, because we really thought we were going to end up playing them last week.
Right.
But there were a lot of things that happened in our class that, because 2 weeks ago Lakeland was number 2, not Buchholz, but Bartram Trail was 1. We were 3, and Vero was 4.
Right.
And then what turned out to happen is Bartram Trail lost, Vero lost, so now Lakeland goes to 1, we go to 2, and then Buchholz goes to 3.
We were watching that in the press boxes, and I was giving the coaches updates. Did you expect those kind of dominoes to fall? How did you think that was going to play out?
I told the guys I think Bartram Trail. I thought Bartram Trail was going to lose to Buchholz, but I still felt like Vero had a chance. Or I'm sorry, I take it back. I thought that Vero was going to lose Osceola. I thought that was a given. But that wouldn't have changed us. We would have still gone to Lakeland. Right. And then Buchholz upset Bartram Trail, which I thought there was a chance. I hadn't watched a whole lot of Buchholz film at the time. I just saw the scores and thought that, hey, they do have a chance, because the first game was 21-6. And you're playing somebody the second time is always tough, and unless it usually goes one of 2 ways. Either the second time, the team that won the first time absolutely blows the other team out, or the second time, the team that lost wins.
Right.
So I really didn't know what was going to happen there. And then we were hearing scores during the game, and it was like Buchholz 21, Bartram Trail nothing.
It was surprising.
And then they came back. Bartram Trail came back on them.
And that game started out at 7 o'clock, so we actually had
right.
We knew that final. You kind of then had a better idea as to where it could go, because that was really the first domino that needed absolutely to fall. Because like you said, the other game wouldn't have mattered regardless if Buchholz didn't come back to beat Bartram Trail.
Right. So as soon as Bartram Trail lost, and as soon as we knew that, we knew we were home. And that's when I said, all right, starters out. We're going to be at home next week. Like, I don't want anything to disturb this. And typically I won't ever take them out unless it is a running clock, because you never know what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
And then that shows you what, last week shows you that. So we were up 28 points against Riverview, and we pulled them out just because, just that feeling of, man, we're going to be at home next week playing for a trip to the state championship.
So when you look at, as far as we go back to go back to last year, DRV Pink Stadium, 2 weeks between the game. Does the 2 weeks between the semifinal and the final Does that help, or do you think that kind of hurts you? Do the guys get going the week one? Does it change intensity? Like what does the 2 weeks do anything to you, basically, is what I'm asking. Like preparation-wise or mentality-wise?
Yes. For us, offensively, we're able to put quite a few things in. As far as, like my call sheet or our call sheet, I like it the smaller the better, because I think obviously the smaller the better. You're going to be working on those things more. And,
right.
And if you have a huge call sheet and you're just dabbling here and there, so I like to reduce everything as much as possible. But having these 2 weeks, it allows you to put a little bit more offense into your call sheet. So I think it gives the coaches a little bit more confidence of, hey, we know what we're doing, and it gives the players a little bit more confidence, because now, we have our top 20 plays now.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we'll have run it come Saturday, it'll be the 10th time. We're typically, we've run it 4 times.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the kids, and not only are they going to see it 10 times, we're going to talk about it in the meetings 2 days, and talk about it mentally for 2 times. So it gives everybody a little bit more confidence. I think last year and this year, comparatively speaking, is night and day. Last year we had a football team that all year we knew, like, hey, let's not screw this up. Like, we're state champions. Like, you guys are going to win a state championship if you can just keep out of your own way. You know what I mean?
And you can see it every week. Every single week.
Like, don't get in your own way. You're going to win a state championship. And I think our job last year was kind of like making sure these kids, didn't get in their own way, whether it be doing something off the field or, doing something on the field to get in their own way. But so it was kind of a little different there. We were so experienced everywhere.
Yeah.
Our most inexperienced players were like Damon, one of our best players, and our linebackers.
Really, Ryan Brown.
Ryan Brown. So our linebackers were all 3-year starters. Our defensive line were all 3-year starters except Damon and Kentai. Our DBs were kind of young because we had Sage and Elliott.
Yeah.
But we had such a experienced group, and then on top of that, on the offensive line we had all seniors. It was all seniors on the offensive line. This year we don't have a senior on the team that's the offensive lineman.
Right.
We have 14 offensive linemen. They're all juniors. Our running back was a 3-year starter. Our receivers were all, Jay-Sean Platt's a 3-year starter. Amari Hayes, who's one of the most competitive people and, guy you want to get the ball to. Like, we were just so experienced in all facets of the game. And this year it's just like, who are you? Like, we have one guy coming back on offense, Keon Sears. That's it. That's the only starters we got coming back. So this year it's been a lot. It's been a process. And one thing I told them, we're talking as a staff, after the season last year, and they're like, gosh, we're going to be so bad next year. We don't have anyone coming back. I said, we're not going to be bad. I said, the closest game we had in the playoffs was 28 points. I said, we just got to be 27 points worse, and we'll come back to a state championship. Just be 27 points worse.
Right.
And I think we exceeded that. I think the
Absolutely.
playoff. I think in the playoffs, we have a team that is now weathered. They've played a lot. We finally put all the pieces together where they need to be on the offensive line, on the defensive side of the ball. We're starting to play with some confidence. I felt like Trenton Kentai this past week was finally Trenton Kentai. Like, I turned on the film, I told him there, like, son, you played the best game you played since you've been here. Like, just physical,
Absolutely.
using his hands. Just everything was so. It was nice to watch, and as a coach, you see that and you're like, that's how you play football. Because there's a lot of good high school players that don't use great technique, but seeing him come off and use his hands and get rid of folks and getting into the puller's hip pocket and stuff like that was really good to see. So I feel like we've, in the playoffs, we've answered the bell every week, no matter who we've played. And, our only real hiccup, sort of say, was the third quarter last week. Other than that, I thought we played, you couldn't have played a better first quarter.
No, I have it in my notes, nearly perfect.
I looked at Coach Hunter after the first quarter and said, Coach, you can't play better than that. Like, we didn't make any mistakes. We were perfect.
Running game, passing game, defense. Yeah. And I want to talk about the offensive line a little bit, but what does this Friday look for you? Obviously, my wife was super excited. Hey, you're going to be home first Friday in a while.
Right.
As a creature of habit, do you get that itch once it gets closer, or do you kind of sit back and enjoy this and knowing 7-8 days from now we're going to be playing for a state championship?
Well, I think the biggest thing for me is not Friday, but Saturday morning. The schedule that we have right now, it kind of wears on you. You go in there Friday night after the game and you're uploading film, and you finally lay your head down on the pillow at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then the alarm's going off at 6:15, which I get up earlier on Saturday than I do on Monday through Friday, because we got to get here and back to the school and upload the film and cut it up and then get ready to break down our next opponent and get our call sheet ready and get everything ready for Monday, because when at Sunday night, when I go to sleep, like, everything's done. Like, our game plans are in. The only thing we're doing is cutting stuff out. Very, very, very rarely do we add something later. So the big thing for me is this Saturday, I want to be able to sleep in. I'm not going to set the alarm Saturday, so that's going to feel really good. And then Friday night, probably just relax and spend some time with the family.
So the offensive line had a great article written by Dennis Maffezoli of Sarasota Herald Tribune last week that came out on Friday. Very different offensive line than the spring game where the Indians fell to Lakeland by one score. And I have it in my notes here. The writer from the Lakeland Ledger actually said a championship hangover for Venice when you were missing your two starting running backs, a brand-new quarterback, your offensive line. The offensive line has made leaps and bounds each week, and you kind of did something cool with them this week in the locker room, as far as bringing the starters out. And when you were talking about it off camera.
So it was actually Monday at practice. I told I want the whole entire starting offense to come line up and gave them a formation to line up, and I wanted the starting offense from the spring to line up. We only had there was only 9 players out there. So we had Larry Shannon was injured, so he wasn't there, and then we had another player that we had moved to a different level in our program that wasn't there, and so there was 9 out there. Then I said, all right, well, if you're not starting anymore, if you're not an offensive starter now, come sit down. And there was only 3 of them out there, so there was, there's 8 new starters on offense than what we had in the spring. And also on defense, we on defense, Kentai wasn't there. He was out. Dalen Platt was making his first start as a corner. Jacavius Washington was not there. So it was tough. We actually had Elliott going both ways, and so he was dead tired. We had linebackers. All 4 of our linebackers were making their first start. So it's we're going to be a different football team, and I think one of the neatest things is we'll be able to see the improvement. It's to start off the 2020 campaign against the team you're playing for a state championship with, and to be able to actually see the growth and the leaps and bounds we've made is going to be neat. And not to say Lakeland hasn't gotten better. I'm sure they've gotten a lot better since spring as well. I mean, everyone's gotten better. You play 15 games, you can't help but get better. But we're gonna get a chance to see all the work that you put in over the summer, all the work you put in during fall camp, and all the work you put in during the season, and see if it paid it off.
So before we continue with tonight's Mussone and Peacock podcast, we want to thank all the great sponsors who have so generously contributed to the program all season long. No one better than the other. Everybody kind of doing the same thing to try and just make our whole program better. And I know you can speak to that better than I can.
Oh man, this community is unbelievable. Just the amount of people that are part of our program and kind of make things go. And there are so many people involved. I wouldn't even attempt to try to name the individuals and the individual companies that make this thing go. But I mean, down to what we're drinking and eating and the things that we get to wear. I mean, there's so many people involved and so many great people and so many great businesses that are part of our program that we're just very, very fortunate to have in our community.
So we'll be back here on the Mussone and Peacock podcast. Don't go anywhere. Second segment's coming up in just a couple of minutes.
What does Douglas Jeep, Chrysler Dodge Ram, and Venice High Football have in common?
The perfect team and the perfect lineup.
Douglas Jeep, Chrysler Dodge Ram will always go the extra yard so you can score big with the area's best selection and savings. So if you're looking for a championship vehicle lineup
And a dealership that tackles the competition.
visit Douglas Jeep, Chrysler Dodge Ram in Venice.
And if you're looking for a championship football lineup, check out the Venice High Football team.
Who supports Venice High Football?
Douglas does.
Back here on the Mussone and Peacock podcast, Josh Grant sitting in for John Mussone alongside Coach John Peacock. And if you're heading over to Fort Lauderdale, which we hope all of you are, Saturday, December 17th, the game is at 1 o'clock p.m. Tickets are $12 in advance. You can get them on Ticketmaster. Just search up the 2022 FHSA football playoffs. $12 in advance, $15 to the day of game. And last year we traveled so well, packed out DRV Pink Stadium.
I tell you what, cool place, right?
Awesome. It was fun to shoot with. I shot the pregame stuff. It was fun to shoot.
It's a cool place to watch the game. It's shaded, so they got everything's overhang. Even though I don't think it's going to be too hot, but it is shaded. Everything is shaded.
Yep.
It's kind of enclosed. They got a great sound system.
Yeah.
The weirdest thing about the game and the field was how flat it was.
Yeah, because the soccer pitch, it's not a pitch; it's flat.
I've never been in a field where, it was like a pool table.
Yeah.
It was so flat, because a football field always has an arch or whatever, a crown.
Right.
And zero crown, absolute 100% flat, and it was groomed amazingly. I think so we played on Saturday, so there was 2 games before us.
And you had the games Friday night, we went over and watched St. Thomas Friday night.
Yeah, so there was I think 2 games before us. There was a Thursday night game, a Friday night game, and a Friday afternoon game. So there's 3 games before us, and you couldn't tell that there was a game played on it.
No. No, and that's a temporary stadium, which is interesting too, because that's the home of Miami FC, and they're building a David Beckham's team. They're building a much bigger stadium closer to Miami, so that's basically a temporary stadium right there.
Oh, really?
With all the temporary
it's,
fixtures.
It's actually an old stadium.
Super old,
Lockhart, yeah. But they obviously put a lot of money in it. But it was definitely definitely a cool place to watch a game. It really is.
So going between, obviously, 2017 Camping World Stadium, 60, 70,000 seats, DRV Pink Stadium, I would say 20,000 seats. Which one, I mean, you don't want, every experience is great, but which one did you like playing in more?
All right, give me Camping World's locker room.
Okay.
And we'll play at DRV.
DRV
Stadium.
is very small. The locker room, I mean, you had to take up, was it 2 or 3?
Well, it was actually we took the home locker room and the visitor locker room for our team. And
right.
so last year we were the home team. So it was all right. We split up the team. Half of you were over here, half of you were over here. Well, this year we're the visitors, and so I said, well, I called some coaches that were the visiting team last year. I said, what's the deal with the locker room? Because we actually had the home locker room and the away locker room for the soccer teams. So soccer teams, how many people? I don't know how many players are on a soccer team.
20, 25, I think.
All right, so 20, 25 players. It was perfect size. You
yeah.
had plenty of room, but 60, you didn't. It's not the perfect size. So I asked the visiting coaches from last year, and they said, well, they kind of just throw you in a room. I got some fold-up chairs. There's no lockers, and then there's they said there's a tented area outside for additional space. I'm like, what? Outside? We're gonna be outside? And
yeah.
like, well, yeah, that's like, but it is what it is. I mean, we're there. We're visiting team, away team. We'll have the advantage of we're wearing white uniforms, and Lakeland will probably be in black, and it's going to be a little hotter for them in black than it is in white.
So on the far side, so I think that's the west side of the stadium. So if you're heading over to DRV Pink Stadium, which we hope you are, we're on the west side, not the same side as last time, but the complete other side.
Yeah, the opposite, yeah.
So before we continue with tonight's podcast, I want to give a big thanks to the interns who have worked for VSN all football season long. It went from Josh and Francis and a couple of the crew to a group of my students who have really taken ownership of the broadcast, taking a lot of pride. And all the highlight films you see each week are done by one kid. His name's Rylan Kriska. He is a senior at Venice High School. And, boy, he puts out some unbelievable content. And he'll be going to the state championship game. And the Venice faithful's in for a treat.
It is really, really cool, the stuff he does. And I know our kids absolutely appreciate it. They might not tell them. Maybe they do. I don't know. But the kids get so pumped up when they see those videos. It's pretty cool.
And I might be his teacher, but I can't take credit for it. That kid a lot of that is all self-taught. So Rylan's just an unbelievable kid. So College Bowl season comes up. Actually, I believe it starts on December. It's a Thursday. I believe it's a Thursday before the state championship game. But I want to give you a couple of games, and you tell me what you think. What's the outcome going to be? What's it going to look like? So Saturday, December 17th, the SRS Distribution Bowl in Las Vegas. It's the Florida Gators and Oregon State Beavers.
Oof. I'm like a semi Gator fan just because Trey and Clay went there, so spent so much time watching them when they were there. But I'm gonna have to go Oregon State because I just think that I don't know. I'm gonna have to go Oregon State. I think that they may be a little bit more excited to play in that than the Gators.
And especially with no Anthony Richardson. He won't be announced he's not playing in the game for Florida. And there are other backup.
Why did he announce that?
So he's not going to play in the game. He's going to forego the bowl game and move on towards the draft.
Oh, so he's not coming back next year?
No.
Okay.
So Florida is a mess at quarterback right now.
Yeah, because the other quarterback.
No, that's another story for another day.
But he's not there as well.
No, he's not there as
well. Was he the
So.
backup? Was he number 2?
Yeah.
Oh, so they're on number 3. Do we have a number 3?
I don't think so. They might. But nobody knows who it is. These bowl game names are getting ridiculous. The Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl. So this game is being played at Yankee Stadium, sponsored by a lawnmowing company. That's Syracuse, Minnesota. Nobody cares about that game. The Cheez-It Bowl, Oklahoma and Florida State.
I'm going to go Florida State. I think that they're a team that's kind of on the rise. I don't think Oklahoma's had a great year, and I think that'd be a good win for them.
So if you pick Florida State in the Cheez-It Bowl, that one at Camping World Stadium on Thursday, December 29th at 5:30. The Capital One Orange Bowl has a little bit of a local flair to it. Tennessee and Clemson. Number 6, Tennessee, and number 7, Clemson. Obviously, Tennessee missing a huge part of their coaching staff is their offensive coordinator, Alex Golesh, was just hired at USF to replace Jeff Scott. So Tennessee or Clemson?
Does Tennessee have the quarterback?
Yes, I believe they do.
He's back?
I couldn't tell you, to be honest. I lied. I'm sorry.
Well, I think he's out. I think the quarterback is out. So I'm going to go. If the quarterback is back, I'm going to go Tennessee. If he's out, I'm going Clemson.
Was that a surprise seeing a guy like, I don't know if you know anything about him, Alex Golesh being hired at USF? You heard Deion Sanders. You heard Jamie Chadwell. USF, they tweeted out, are you ready to find out who the next coach is? And all these people were getting excited on social media, and they find out Alex Golesh. Does this guy have a shot to be successful?
Well, yeah, I think anybody does. I don't think he was a name that was thrown out there ahead of time, but
you look at that Tennessee offense, number 1 in the country. I mean, that's got to bring you somewhere. But last time they did that, they hired Jeff Scott, who won one game.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. Obviously, we want to give him a chance, and see what he does, because who knows?
Because Tennessee's
everyone starts somewhere.
Tennessee was down for a while too, so that the fact that they're back up, I mean, you can attribute a lot of that success.
When that staff went there, they made some drastic improvements. But everyone starts somewhere.
All right, so the one that you probably want to talk about the most, the All-State Sugar Bowl, Alabama and number 9 Kansas State.
Well, obviously, I think Alabama's going to roll. I think it might, but I'm not sure what the Alabama team's going to look like now, because I think this is one of the first years that they're not in the national championship. So you might have a lot of guys opting out for the draft.
Right.
I don't think Alabama's ever had to deal with that because of the fact that they were playing, in the national championship playoffs. So everyone played. It'll be interesting to see. They actually had a starter. I was shocked. They had an offensive lineman that was a starter that entered the portal, along with like 5 other guys that weren't starters, but they had one starter that entered the portal.
It's almost like you never, during Mike Krzyzewski's years at Duke, until a couple of years ago, you never saw players leave. They all graduated. What has the transfer portal done for college football?
Well,
isn't it a place where a lot of guys just go for more opportunities and then you never hear from them again? I mean, there's so many players in the portal.
The portal was before NIL.
Right.
Okay, so now the portal is not really the portal anymore. The portal is like a free agency.
Yeah. NIL, name, image, and likeness you hear a lot about, and it's gone completely off the wire from what it was intended to be.
So let me give you an example. So the quarterback from TCU, what grade is he in? Or what year is he?
I think he's a senior.
Senior.
I believe he's a senior.
Let's pretend he's a sophomore.
Okay.
It's his second year, and he can't leave for the draft. So he's a sophomore. He enters the portal. What do you think is going to happen there? He's going to be offered God knows how much money to play for whoever needs a quarterback. And he may not be getting that there at TCU, or maybe he is. I mean, but let's say some phenomenon guy is the starting quarterback at Georgia State.
Well, Clemson's quarterback just said that he's entering the transfer portal as well.
I don't know
DJ Malaga, I think is his name.
I don't know what his value would be.
Right.
But let's just say there's a phenomenon at a lower or FCS. SCF team, but they're like, this guy's going to be the number 1 draft pick. And
you'll see a lot of that with Jackson State.
In 2 years.
Yep.
So that guy enters the portal, and let's just say Clemson needs a quarterback or Oklahoma needs a quarterback. Well, here's $3 million. Let's come play for us.
Yeah.
So everything's a free agency now. So guys are cutting deals before they're on campus.
Right.
And they're getting offered this money before they're on campus.
Yeah, so the NIL came about with really, it was UCLA. Remember UCLA back in the mid-'90s with Ed O'Bannon basketball, and those guys were upset because they were in all these video games and they weren't getting paid. So Ed O'Bannon led this charge to sue the NCAA for the name, image, and likeness, and this is where it came from. And I get it. I understand, the commitments that college athletes make and the amount of money that's made off of them, but I think it's definitely changed.
Well, it's
direction.
not even what it's intended to be for.
Exactly. Right.
And that money is going to come from somewhere. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, where do you think the money's going to come from? And the answer was, all these elaborate facilities, and, like Florida's just got a new facility, and they got a pool area, and a volleyball. You can
go on YouTube and type in any of those, and they've all done highlight videos. Everything's about a highlight video now.
So, that might go away because that money is going to these players. That money might not be going to those facilities then. So
let's college football semifinal. So you pick Alabama over Kansas State. College football playoff semifinal at the Fiesta Bowl, the VRBO Fiesta Bowl. Michigan, TCU. You had a chance to play against J.J. McCarthy 2 years ago.
We did.
Yeah. So who wins that one, Michigan or TCU?
I don't know. I don't think it matters.
No? Okay.
I mean, I would have to think Michigan wins that one. But I would not be surprised if TCU won.
Does Michigan harbaugh themselves into a loss?
Who knows?
McCarthy's been unbelievable. I mean, he's played really well.
The whole team has played very well, but I wouldn't be shocked if TCU wins, put it that way.
In the final college football playoff semifinal, it's a home game for Georgia in a sense, but I believe, if I looked correct, no, they would be the home team. It would be Georgia. It's Georgia and Ohio State. A lot of interest in that one.
It's not going to be close.
No?
Georgia and a landslide.
Okay. Tell me why. Why?
Well, I mean, look what Michigan did to Ohio State.
True.
And I'll just tell you this. Georgia's a similar version of Michigan, but just better. Just better.
Yeah.
They run the ball. They're going to run the ball better than Michigan runs the ball. They're going to have a tougher offensive line. Their defense is going to be a better defense than the Michigan defense.
You had a chance to meet a lot of these guys last year as they were on the recruiting trail looking at Elliott, Damon, and others. I remember 2 days we had Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, and Dabo Swinney. Do you get a chance to pick their brains at all, or is it kind of just a handshaking moment? And I know they can't talk to the guys, but do they want to be talked to at that point? Or?
Well, the funny thing is, if you name, and Ryan Day was there too.
Yep.
So all those people that you named, who would you think would talk the least?
Oh, Nick Saban, 100%.
That's the opposite.
Really?
I had he was the most. Shouldn't say the most personal. Kirby, we have some mutual friends or mutual people that we know, so we kind of talked about some things. But I was just shocked of how personal Nick Saban was.
Interesting.
And that's something that I didn't expect. I thought he would be very kind of standoffish, but he does have a set time, and it's like clockwork.
Right.
But he came in, sat in office, and relaxed and talked about boating, talked about fishing, and I mean it was and then I tried to get some information on how he sets his culture, more of his thought process on certain issues and things, and very open, and talked about leadership, and one of his main things are he said he just will find something small, and whether it be your shirt tails are tucked in at practice, and the kid's shirt tail's not tucked in, he'll go over and say why is your shirt tail not tucked in, and the kid would have an answer or whatever, but he was just saying that he made that choice. He chose to not be disciplined.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it was just neat to hear him talk about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I would. In seeing him, obviously he got that way with you. I thought Dabo was super nice.
Yes.
I thought Kirby was super cordial. Was there anybody else in that process that you were kind of impressed by, and any of those head coaches that came down?
I think they're all impressive people. I mean, I think you have to be an impressive person, and in order for someone or a university to pay you $9 million to run a program. I think obviously you have to be special in some sense, whether it be just as a motivator or be able to be public speaker or whatever it may be. But I think you're making that type of money and you're going to be impressive somehow. I mean, unless you're New England.
Bill Belichick, yeah. He doesn't have to impress anybody.
No, but he's a winner.
Sleeves.
But he's a winner. He wins. He knows how to win, and he's proven that over and over again. But yeah, he's not trying to impress anybody.
No, he looks angry. Like he looks like that angry grandpa on the front porch looking at the kids playing ball in the street.
It's like because he's like this.
Always tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's an interesting situation right now in New England. Is growing up about 20 minutes from the stadium, I would say, and seeing how much that team has changed. And now the rumor is that Tom Brady could go back to New England next year. But the one thing they'd have to do, because he's going to be a free agent after this season, one thing they'd have to do is fire Matt Patricia. And is Bill Belichick going to do that? Matt Patricia is his guy.
Why?
He's a terrible play caller. He's an awful play caller. He's an offensive line coach, and they've got him as the offensive coordinator right now.
Who'd you hear that from?
About which part?
About Brady.
Oh, that's all over social media. That's been all over social media.
Go back his last year to retire?
Yeah.
Do him and Belichick have a good relationship right now?
I don't know. I would like to think after, 6
Did
Super
they ever have
Bowls,
a bad relationship?
I don't think they did. But I think that's an ego play right there. It's one guy's team or it's one guy's team, and which guy's going to win. And,
well, Brady won that argument.
But did he, though?
He's got another ring.
But it was in a different spot. He had to go take over another team.
Yeah, but still.
Do you see him in this?
A team that wasn't supposed to be there, though.
That's true. They had a lot of good pieces in the Tampa Bay Bucs.
Now you look at it and say that, but I'm just being devil's advocate. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Listen. I'm not a big team fan. Like I like this team, I like that team.
Yeah.
I'm a person that likes success. I like to see greatness. So I was, in pro football, I watched New England Patriots. I was huge Bill Belichick.
Smart.
I was huge Tom Brady. And when he came to the Bucs, I was like, oh, great. Now I get to be a Bucs fan and watch the Bucs. I always wanted to be a Bucs fan, but I couldn't be. I couldn't do it. I was watching, I'm watching the game and, Jameis Winston, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't even force myself to watch the games.
Right.
But then when Brady went there, was able to watch the games and be a Bucs fan. And I still watch the Patriots because I was a Belichick fan. But now I'm like, I can't watch the Patriots because I just don't think they're very good right now.
No, they're bad. Here he goes down to Punta Gorda a lot. So if you end up down in Punta Gorda, you might run into Bill Belichick at one of the local establishments. But final thoughts: do you see Tom Brady playing another year after this year?
Oh,
what
yes.
do you see in him in this game right now with his game?
Oh, well, I think he's still on the money. I think, you see last week's game. That was awesome. That was really cool.
They should just run 2-minute offense all the time or 4-minute offense. They should just run that every
Well, it's his second,
drive.
The second time he's come back from a 13-point deficit. 13-point deficit in the fourth quarter. And it was the latest victory he's ever had. So, they won it with 3 seconds left. But I think he's still the same player. I mean, do you see any?
I see him missing. I see him missing a lot of guys. I don't necessarily think his timing.
Do you think it's because of his age, though?
There could be a lot of other things. He's got a lot of other off-field distractions.
Right, but I don't think his arm strength is weak or.
No, I also don't think that receiving core is as good as it has been in the past.
He didn't have any tight ends the other night.
No.
Yeah, and he doesn't practice on Wednesday anymore.
So he's a 2-day-a-week guy. If you get a chance, the Tuck Rule on ESPN Plus was a great documentary.
No, I've watched it.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. So thanks for watching tonight's podcast, Mussone and Peacock podcast. I'm Josh Grant. I'm glad to be here with you tonight. Thankful for being here as part of the Vibrant Aspect Media team. John will be back in this seat to host next week's Coaches Show and Mussone and Peacock podcast. But for now, we'll see you next Tuesday night. Thanks for watching.